The Amazon rainforest covers over 5.5 million square kilometers. It is so vast, so deep, so impenetrable, that scientists estimate a new species is discovered there every single 2 days. Let that sink in. Every 48 hours, something crawls or swims or flies out of that green abyss that we didn't even know existed. So what else is hiding in there? What animals did we bury in extinction, only to have the Amazon quietly shelter them? For decades, for centuries, perhaps even longer. Today we're counting down 7 of the most shocking cases. Animals written off as gone forever, still breathing, still hunting, still surviving in the world's greatest jungle. Stay with me, because number 1 will break everything you thought you knew. It is the size of a grown man. It breathes air like you do. And for decades in the mid-20th century, researchers feared it had vanished forever from many of the Amazon's waterways. The arapaima, known locally as the pirarucu, is one of the largest freshwater fish on the planet. It can grow up to 3 meters long and weigh nearly 200 kilograms. Indigenous tribes hunted it for thousands of years. Then commercial fishing arrived. And then the nets. Industrial-scale harvesting gutted entire river systems of this prehistoric giant. By the 1990s, populations had collapsed so dramatically in certain regions that scientists used words like functionally extinct, meaning even if individuals survived somewhere, they were too few to matter. But the Amazon had other plans. Conservation surveys deep inside restricted indigenous territories began detecting something extraordinary: healthy, reproducing populations of arapaima. In areas untouched by commercial boats, in flooded forest zones that outsiders couldn't reach, the fish had been there the whole time. Thousands of them. The arapaima had not gone extinct. It had simply gone deeper. Today, community-managed fishing programs in Brazil have documented a stunning recovery in protected zones. The fish that was eulogized by biologists was never actually gone. It was just hiding where we weren't looking. They were called the river wolves of the Amazon. Growing up to 1.8 meters long, larger than most humans, giant river otters are pack hunters. They coordinate, they communicate, they take down caiman, they terrorize piranha. And by the 1960s and 70s, the fur trade had slaughtered them to the edge of existence. Hunters could earn weeks of income from a single pelt. Entire family groups were wiped out in a single afternoon. By some estimates, the total global population crashed to just a few hundred individuals. Ecologists were writing the species obituary in real time. Officially listed as endangered, many regional biologists feared certain Amazon tributaries had lost the giant otter entirely. But then, field researchers began venturing into the more remote stretches of the Peruvian and Brazilian Amazon, areas with no roads, no boats, no access, and they heard the calls. That loud, unmistakable bark that sounds almost human, coming from rivers that were supposed to be empty. The giant river otter had survived, in the most inaccessible corners of the jungle, away from guns, away from humans. Today, populations are recovering, slowly, cautiously, but they are there. Proof that the Amazon can harbor what the rest of the world has given up on. This one is extraordinary. For most of the 20th century, the Chacoan peccary existed only as a fossil. Scientists had unearthed its remains in ancient deposits across South America and concluded it had gone extinct at the end of the last ice age, roughly 10,000 years ago. It was classified alongside woolly mammoths and giant ground sloths, a relic of a world that no longer existed. It appeared in textbooks, past tense. It was displayed in natural history museums, past tense. And then, in 1975, a living one walked out of the forest. Biologists on an expedition through the remote Gran Chaco region, a massive dry forest bordering the Amazon basin, encountered a population of peccaries that matched the fossil record precisely. Same skull structure, same teeth, same body form. They weren't similar, they were identical. The Chacoan peccary had been alive for 10,000 years after we declared it gone. Living in one of the most harsh and inaccessible environments in South America, hidden from science entirely. It didn't just survive extinction, it survived our certainty that it was extinct. It is now considered one of the greatest zoological rediscoveries of the 20th century, a Lazarus species in the truest sense. and it asks a terrifying question. What else have we buried that's still breathing? The black caiman is the largest predator in the Amazon basin. It can reach 5 or 6 meters in length. It outweighs jaguars. It hunts in the dark. Its eyes glow red in the beam of a flashlight at midnight, and in the 1970s it was nearly gone. Commercial hunters had decimated black caiman populations across the Amazon for decades. Their skin was premium leather, used for boots, belts, handbags. By the mid-20th century, millions had been killed. Surveys in many regions returned 0 sightings. Conservation reports from the 1970s listed the black caiman as functionally extinct across vast stretches of the Amazon. River communities that had lived alongside them for generations stopped reporting them. They were simply absent. But the Amazon is not a small place. In the most remote oxbow lakes, in the flooded forest zones that only exist during the rainy season, in the dark channels that no hunting boat could navigate, the black caiman waited. Strict hunting bans put in place across Brazil and Peru in the 1970s and 80s gave them just enough protection, and slowly, from the deep, inaccessible heart of the rainforest, they came back. Today, the black caiman is considered a conservation success story, not because it never disappeared, but because the Amazon was large enough, dark enough, and deep enough to keep a remnant population alive while the rest of the world thought they were gone. The river gave them back. The tapir looks like something assembled from leftover parts. A body like a barrel, legs like a miniature rhino, and a nose, that flexible, prehensile snout, that seems borrowed from something else entirely. It is, in fact, one of the most ancient large mammals on Earth. Tapirs have roamed South America for millions of years, virtually unchanged. They are living fossils in their own right. But in parts of the Amazon, particularly in Peru and Argentina, tapir populations collapsed so severely under hunting pressure and deforestation that they were considered locally extinct in many areas, gone from entire river systems, gone from regions where indigenous communities had tracked them for centuries. Researchers began to assume the worst, but deep camera trap surveys in protected Amazonian zones started returning images. Movement on the forest floor at 2 a.m., a shape, massive and silent, moving through the undergrowth, the tapir. In zones considered empty, it had been there all along, nocturnal, shy, moving like a shadow through the forest, avoiding roads, avoiding clearings, hugging the oldest and densest parts of the canopy. The Amazon didn't lose its tapirs, it just moved them to where we weren't looking.